All right, I'm here with my good friend Alex Paykoff. He is a Wall Street best-selling author from the book Get Satisfaction, a short guide to living a happier, more satisfied life. He's also a coach and an entrepreneur and a speaker and many, many more things. Alex, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that we got to connect. I'm super excited to go on this journey with you.
Yeah, man, I got a chance to hear you speak at a recent event, and I was bummed that we didn't get to connect afterwards, but here we are. And I wanted to ask you, you grew up witnessing your family build the Niagara bottling empire. How was it for you being surrounded by so much success from a young age? How did that just shape your initial understanding of fulfillment? And then how has that understanding evolved now?
Well, first of all, I was very blessed. My dad's done things that very few people have done. His father migrated here from Macedonia to create a better life, because if he stayed in Macedonia, he was going to, get drafted in the war, get killed. My grandfather left knowing he was going to never see his mother or his sister again. That then came to New York, where my dad and my uncles were created. My dad came out here and just created businesses, right? And watching him do that, having that laser focus, there was a lot of pluses to that. But there were some things that weren't the best, right? To do, when you're from that generation, you need to be emotionless, right? You can't have stress, because all those things don't make money. They don't accomplish things, right? So my whole life I was taught, look, you don't have time for that. You're a young person. Don't cry, don't be vulnerable. Just be macho and create a task, which is great in the business world, right? And that's how he created what he did. But I learned that there was part of me that didn't fit in that mold. Right? I felt more comfortable being sensitive and being emotional and generally having natural empathy, and being able to express my feelings, right? So, but I did learn that there's a lot of distractions. And watching my dad and my brother create this big business that it is, you've got to be focused on your truth, and you have to stick to your agenda. But more importantly, we were learned not to quit. Quitting wasn't an option, right? So you fail forward. So I was very, very blessed to see somebody who was so strategic and just knew what he wanted to do. But more importantly, my dad taught us a lot about passion, right? My dad was passionate about his family, right? I'm pretty confident he didn't sit there and say, hey, I'm going to have all these X dollars and I'm going to create this huge financial empire. I'm pretty sure he just thought, hey, I want electricity, I want food, I want a better life for my family, right? And that led to his thing. So the plus with that is most people go into business, this younger generation, say, I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to be all these things. I think my dad just wanted to provide. I think he just wanted his family to be okay. So there's a lot of things I learned from that. But more importantly, I learned how important family was, right? And so if you look at, we're very family centric. You look at what my brother's done with Niagara Bottling, it's very family centric and giving back unconditionally. So that's what I was very fortunate to learn, is that there's a lot of good things when you create your own path and you don't quit and you keep on going forward. And then when people say no, in the business world, it doesn't mean no. It means they might be trying to discourage you, but that's their agenda. Stick to your truth and follow your dreams.
Yeah, love that. And so for people that don't know what you're all about, I just jumped right into questions, but having read your book, like, I know a lot about you, but for people that don't know what you do, I think the best thing that I could say is you help very successful people, entrepreneurs, businessmen, women, rich people, actually find satisfaction in their lives, because just because you're rich and wealthy or successful, whatever that means to you, doesn't mean they're fulfilled or they're happy. How was it for you? What was your turning point, or where was it that you realized, like, holy cow, like, maybe I was successful, had all these things, had the money, had the success, but deep down, damn, I feel empty. Yeah. Was there a turning point like that for you?
Yes, absolutely. So that was a journey. So the beautiful thing is that I do walk people through that life of going from where you're a stressed life to a stressless life, right? Because I've been in that journey. And a lot of times people don't look at that journey. So when I look at that journey, I say, look, this is where I was. And yeah, I had all those monetary things that would so-called make you financially rich, but I was emotionally broke. I was emotionally dead. I was miserable. I didn't like when Mondays came around. I didn't like much of anything, but at that time I liked to party. I was doing everything I could to deny myself how I really felt, inside, because I surround myself with business, which a lot of people do these days, is they don't look at themselves and say, hey, look, I'm not happy. So what happened is about 10 years ago, I call it D-Day. and there was some trauma that hit our family, and there's some unhappiness that happened to my daughter, and I realized, oh, what am I doing with my life, right? I was physically present, but I wasn't emotionally present. So I really started to reevaluate and decide this is decision day. And then because we are the most advanced computer on the planet, I decided to reboot myself and go back to when I was present and I knew my truth. And that's kind of when you're a little kid, right? So I tell everybody, give yourself a permission slip, not to do, but to be. And go back to that person that you wanted to be, not that society's molded you into. And we talk a lot about rich and wealth, and those are two different things, right? You don't have to have money to have wealth, right? Some of the wealthiest people in the world don't have money. But if you have a lot of memories and you have a lot of connections, you are extremely wealthy. Money's not going to solve all these problems people think it's going to be, right? The thing that money does do, it will accent your weaknesses, right? You think you have more money, it's not going to make you a better husband. If you're a crappy husband, you're a crappy husband. If you're a crappy businessman, you're a crappy businessman. If you think you're a producer, money's not going to make you all of a sudden become a producer for a movie. You don't know how to do that, right? Money is going to sit there and accent your flaws. You had them, but now you thought money was going to take them away. The fact of the matter is, money's not going to do that. Time will point out what your flaws are, and time and taking time to appreciate what you're grateful for creates wealth. You got to slow down. And so everybody I work with, I say, look, let's go on our journey and let's talk about our wins. Let's go into our mind. And everybody's got a Blockbuster video store. Nowadays, we'll call it Netflix. Go in there, look at all these amazing things you've done and find out why you're chasing. You're chasing money, but you're not chasing wealth, and you're not chasing the ability to connect, right? Because when you do that, you have to realize you might be doing things not for yourself. You might be doing something that someone else told you to do, or their agenda. And that's when you start getting a lot of unhappiness. People do things to make other people happy. You can't do that unless you're happy first. And we constantly do things that feel like crap, right? We're constantly touching the hot stove, When you were a kid, you touched that hot stove one time. But when you're older, you keep on thinking it's not going to burn you. It's going to keep on burning you over and over and over. So stop touching it. But we get so disconnected from what we feel, we think there's going to be a different outcome. And unfortunately, it's not that way. The only way you're going to have a different outcome is to do something different and move forward with what makes you feel good.
Yeah, I want to talk, some people will say, well, sure, Alex, money isn't everything, but you have money. Easy for you to say, easy for you to be present, easy for you not to, be distracted by wanting to make more money or be successful or reach a certain level of income because then I have more opportunity. What do you say to that?
Well, I think it's really easy to judge a book by the cover. It's that old saying, walk a mile in my shoes to see who I really am, right? You can look on the outside, but let's talk about what's really inside. Let's talk about the struggles I've personally had in my life. The journey I went through battling for custody with my daughter since she was 2 weeks old up until the time she was, of legal consent. Let's talk about good friends of mine that are no longer here. Let's talk about a family member who struggled with schizophrenia since she was 18, and other stuff that happened in our lives. There's a lot of struggles in everybody's life. Everybody has it, but people seem to think because you have money that you don't have it. They're amplified even more, like I said earlier. I think it's really shallow when people sit there and point a finger at somebody without getting to know them. And that's fine that they do that, but those individuals are very lost, and they've never taken the time to look in the mirror and tell themselves the truth. And what they're doing is they're comparing. Comparing is no way to go forward in your life, right? If you want to compare yourself to you and that person that you told yourself you were going to be, and see if you actually are being honest with yourself. Stop comparing. It doesn't do anything. And I'll get off the subject. There is so much unhappiness in the world right now because we're comparing. Tommy's got this, Susie's in the Greek islands, so-and-so. That's comparing again. But do you think because all that social media, their lives are that great? No, they're still all struggling just like everybody else. But look deep inside somebody before you sit there and say, oh my God, your life's perfect. Look, it's far from it. I've had the same struggles that everybody else has had. Maybe the one difference is maybe they were amplified more because I could postpone the reality by putting money on it, right? And I could buy people to be my friends and buy myself into clubs, but I was still a jerk inside. I wasn't fixing anything. I was in denial.
I love that. I didn't even think about that. Like what you just said is, money, big deal. It just made me it actually could numb people because they could have money. So then they just have other abilities to numb out. If you're already a shitty or bad person or a jerk, like you said, well, then money just amplifies that. It doesn't, so it actually could make it worse. Right. And I think what, to your point too, Alex, is that I just realized, like you're saying, like, I'm still a human being. I have all the same problems that you have because we're human, and that's universal. So I have all the same problems. That never changes. It's just the difference is, hey, maybe like one person has more income versus the other, but the problems are always the same. Like your problems, we can find in other homes with people that have less income. That never changes. And if you don't change you because you're blaming something external like money, then even if you have money, nothing changes because you didn't change, right?
Nothing changes. So I tie that back to what I call emotional debt. We all have emotional debt, right? You got to work on that first. And that's the problem. We think all these things are going to fix it. No, figure out what your emotional debt is and then start tackling it. But if anything in your life, you have to find a starting point of where you're going to start to fix yourself or correct things. But that whole thing of denial, and running your life like this, I ask you this all the question. How's it working for you? What marriage are you on now? What job are you on now? How many times is it not your fault? It's somebody else's fault. Take a time out and freaking just evaluate that maybe it might be you. I'm just saying, you know?
Yeah. Talk to you about family, because that was a big, my story. We were talking about just how I was chasing success as well. I had lost my job, so money was important to me, but also I was dealing with issues with my family. And I said probably something many of your clients say, which is, well, if I just get more money, then I'll be more present. I told this to my wife, and she didn't buy it. Luckily, she didn't buy it. And I had to go to rock bottom. I had to stop making money completely. I had to go to rock bottom, and I had to fix, I think, what you're saying. I had to be present again. I had to connect with my kid. And when I started connecting with my kids and being more present with and fixing my marriage, then guess what? Everything else started to change. Is that did that happen for you as well in your own journey with family? I'm just curious.
Well, a lot of it was self-inflicted. My dad's an amazing person, right? And I think sometimes we empower people too much, and we think they expect so much out of us. So we start doing stuff to get their acknowledgement. Growing up, I had insecure attachment. So I was doing things to try to get love from my dad in ways that I thought were important, which was working harder or creating a better machine or doing all these remarkable things so I could get some accolade, right? But I wasn't doing it for me. And so that's the thing that problem happened with family is we're doing stuff because we're looking for love outside instead of inside. So those are the struggles I had. But you always have to reframe things the right way. No matter how unique that journey was in the relationship with my father, who I am today, it wouldn't be so if it wasn't for him, right? And my mother, they were completely opposites. So you have to look things in perspective. My thing was I was always trying to get love from my dad by trying to be the best business person, accomplishing all these things and say, look how great I am, right? But that was not my agenda. It was I wasn't doing it unconditionally. If you go through life doing things conditionally, you have that problem. And that was my downfall. And when I stepped away from that, I realized, he still loves me. He loves me whether or not I'm working in the business, and I haven't worked in Niagara Water for many years, but he still loves me for what I'm doing, right? And more importantly, when the one book came out, it did great, and he said, boom, good job, right? So that was what I was chasing the whole time. In reality, it was there. I just was looking in the wrong places, right? When I went back to me, which I'm a connector, I help people, I'm empathetic, that was it. I created my own life, which he recognizes, right? Because not everybody's going to do what he did in their life. It's not real, right? I have 7 brothers. One of them's in the family business, and he's taken it to, global levels. The other ones of us couldn't do it. We just weren't wired that way, right? But it's all okay. We have our own lives. But you have to create your own life. And the problem is people are living in the shadows of family members and not living in their own shadow, right? They're hiding in those shadows, trying to be something that they think somebody wants them. All people want is for you to be happy, right? No matter what you do. And I tell my daughter, look, I don't care what you do, just be happy, right? You don't need to be a millionaire, just be happy. Be happy with what you're doing, that's it. And so my mistake was I was trying to make my dad happy, and that wasn't right. And that was my
Yeah.
mistake. So I had to step back and look. And so all that working and trying to get more and more and more money, I became a shell of myself. And that's when I wasn't present for my daughter. I wasn't present in relationships. I wasn't present at all. I was present when it was time to go to the bar and pay the bills and dance on tables and drive the latest cars and the offshore racers. But I wasn't a human being. I was a destructive anti-human.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You were living someone else's beliefs, someone else's ideas.
Yeah.
And that was like your persona, persona meaning like mask.
Yeah.
Like you were putting on this mask and just acting it out in the play. That wasn't even your reality, but you were living it. So that, yeah.
It wasn't. I had what I call imposter syndrome, right? I knew who I was, but I wasn't being that person. See, I've always been a big, strong guy, but I was pretending not to have emotions, right? And so that was imposter syndrome. But now, you heard about me speaking about on stage. I get teared up because that's who I am. And I was more comfortable being this guy that is emotional, that can balance the masculine and feminine, instead of just being this macho roar machine, because that's not the way the world worked for me. It works for other people, but not for me. I had to find out what worked for Alex. And like I tell people all the time, what I was doing before went against one of the greatest mantras I ever learned, which is my number one job is to not hurt Alex, right? So I wake up every morning making sure I'm not hurting Alex. I hope someday to meet this Alex guy. Wait, I am Alex, so I'll be fine.
By the way, okay, so what are some of the things that you do to fill up your bucket now, taking care of Alex? What are some of the things that you've learned, or some of the practices or rituals or things that help fill up that bucket so that you are taking care of you? That's a big part, I think, of entrepreneurship and business. I see in a lot of my clients, anytime they're going through overwhelm or struggle, I'm like, hey, listen up. Really important. You need to double down on self-care. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I know it seems the most, counterintuitive thing you could ever do. And I have to take my own advice, because when I'm in overwhelm, I don't do a good job of doing this. But I'm like, listen, when you're in overwhelm, you're going to crash.
Yeah.
And actually, you need to double down more on coaching, more on recovery, relaxation, more on connection. So, yeah, what do you do? I'm curious.
So, again, I keep it simple. I just know what works and I know what doesn't work, right? So for me, I always focus on the emotional mind and the physical, right? So when I'm having down days, I'll do something emotional, which I'll go walk down the beach and have that emotional connection. Because there's one thing I can count on life, it's Mother Nature. I mean, she's all across the board. So this morning I get up, I walk on the beach, it's like, wow, this is kind of next level, right? And then I'll do something physical, whether that's running on the beach or go working out, because I want to get the yin and yang bounce in my mind. Those are the most important things. The other thing that I do, and it is the thing I'm most passionate about on the planet, is sleep. I mean, so I make sure I'm getting my sleep, because it's super important. So I make sure I get 8+ hours. I keep myself hydrated. Another thing I do is I stay away from the energy vampires. I'm not trying to convince somebody that I'm right or they're wrong. If they want to have those conversations with me, I just pivot away. I have to respect myself first. So emotional awareness, physical awareness, but more importantly, it's respect. I have to respect myself, which will show respect to others. So I'm not going to wear myself down. I'm not going to put myself in toxic situations. If someone's yelling their horn and honking their horn, I'm not going to engage. I'm going to get because I don't want to devalue myself from their toxicity. It's that simple. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it, right? If it feels good, do it. The other thing I do, and it's simple, every day I write down something I'm grateful for. At the end of those 7 days, I look at it and say, wow, life's pretty freaking awesome. So it's going back to telling myself the truth and focusing on the wins. We don't do that. We don't sit there and say, man, good job. Hey, you're a good dad. Hey, you helped that person. You smiled at that person on the street. They smiled back. You held a door for somebody. You helped that lady get her suitcase up on the airplane. Just give unconditionally. It's really hard to be an a-hole or be depressed when you're constantly engaging and impacting people, right? I don't know, just give. There's text messages on my phone from kids I've helped get into college, and I'm like, wow, pretty good. You got to reflect. You got to go back and look at your journey and say, you're kind of awesome. You kind of helped some people, right? It's okay to have humility, but also tell yourself the truth. You've done some cool things, but with humility. You've impacted people. I've impacted people. Kind of some cool stuff. We have a unique gift. We actually care.
Yeah, I love that. By the way, that should be a t-shirt. Like, just do it, just give. Boom. That's it.
Yeah, they're $9.99. You get them at the end of this link. It's called justgive.com. It's the Joel and Alex link. We're touring on Netflix in the next 35 days. You'll see us.
Let's go. Let's do it. Hey, I'm curious too, because you work with a lot of high achievers, entrepreneurs, and when you're speaking about finding deeper satisfaction, what do you think is like one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about achieving fulfillment after they've already, quote unquote, made it in life?
The biggest struggle is they forgot why they were doing what they were doing. It sounds really simple, but they forgot. They forgot what they were doing, and all of a sudden that, I think I want a house. No, I think I need a 7,000-foot house. I think we need 3 houses now. I like that car, but I think we need another car. But they don't take time to just sit there and say, hey, life's pretty good, right? It's that gratitude thing. You keep on thinking you want something that's going to make your life more fulfilling. But the fact of the matter is that you go through life, and when you start losing people and people start dying around you, you start realizing, and maybe I should take inventory and life's pretty good and stop. Because eventually you realize the road's coming up. My father's 85, and so thankful that he's still living. Maybe he has another 5 years. He keeps on surprising himself, right? I've got 25 years left on this planet. You have to be present. You got to figure out why you're chasing that stuff. And a lot of it is because you're afraid to sit there and enjoy. And you've lost your ability to listen and reflect and truly enjoy your accomplishments. Again, count your wins. Sit there, and if you're married, look at your wife and say, damn, I'm lucky. Look at your kids, damn, I'm lucky, right? Just be present, right? And every time you're out there accomplish something else, you just took an hour back out of your child's life, of your wife's life. You're never getting back. How much do you need? What you need time. Just hang out. But people seem to forget that because they've lost themselves and they don't know how to be present anymore. They're afraid to talk about real stuff, suicide, death, rape, cancer. Talk about real stuff. People want connections. They don't want to hear how much money you had. They want to hear that you had struggles, and they want connection. They just want to be heard. Is that it? Simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so funny. A lot of the things you're talking about, I interviewed some of the good folks who wrote the book Experiential Billionaire. And you would connect really well with these folks because their whole idea was that they don't want to be a billionaire in terms of money. They want to be a billionaire rich in experiences. And they said, they did all the studies that you're talking about, that 76% of people die on their deathbed. They're never saying like, man, I just wish I had more Ferraris. That was the thing I missed. They're always saying, I wish I had more experiences. I regret not having more experiences. I regret not living more up to my potential. And so it's such a good moment. And like the interesting thing though is, I read these things. I know of them logically. Yeah, that's a good speech. Even what you're saying, I'm like, totally get it, man. I'm glad we're having this conversation. But there's that but. I gotta do all this stuff. I gotta win. Right?
No, that's again. Look, when I went through this journey of life, and when my daughter struggled, the good thing is I did have the money to find the experts, right? So I had talked to a guy, John Hopkins, and he taught me a lot about what's really relevant. And it really was about present and what do you really need? And what do you really want? And these things that you want, are they what you want? Or is it what society is telling you what you want, right? So once you do that and you start telling yourself the truth, but the only way to do that, again, I'm going to go back to this emotional debt. You've got to find out where this emotional debt's coming from, right? So in this journey of loving it, luckily I found tools to help me figure out where my emotional debt levels were, right? And we can talk about this later, but I actually created a website called emotionallydebtfree.com. There's actually this goofy quiz on there. You go in there and you find out where you're out of balance, right? So when anywhere in life, like when I came here today, I had to look at my phone to figure out where I was. You need a starting point in your life to figure out where you are. So these guys that are on their journey, I need more, and they maybe want to change, but they don't know where to start, right? Everywhere in your life, you need a starting point. You go to Disneyland, there's that big dot. You are here. In your life on these journeys, you got to find out where you are so you have a reference point of, oh my God, I passed this. I need to come back here. And that's that whole thing, is just taking time to evaluate and being appreciative. But most people have a hard time doing it because they're afraid that they might miss the next deal. And you said something amazing, regrets. Regrets are the thing that kill everybody. Regrets are something you can't fix. I'm in a relationship, it ended, I should have done that. And then they start having this mindset of would have, could have, should have, right? The best way to fix that would have, should have, could have is freaking do it. Just do it. Just do it, right? And then you don't regret. It may not work out well, but you tried, right? I mean, go through that door, go to the meeting, go talk to people. What's the worst going to happen? Not a lot.
Yeah.
No.
So funny because the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, I think he says, there's a quote of him saying the worst word in the English language is should.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I was just thinking too, you said go do those things. Well, you know my background in relationship coaching. I can tell you the stats for divorces right now, 2024, 43% of marriages, first-time marriages and in divorce. Yeah. Second and third, 60 to 73%. So people still aren't learning from their mistakes. There's still a lot of shoulds that I should have done this, I should have done that. They're not doing exactly what they need to be doing, is to your point.
Well,
there's a lot of shoulds.
And I agree with that. And you know, our spaces overlap a little bit. I tell people, look, because most of my clients are females. If you want something, you have to do this really weird thing. You actually have to ask for it. You know, I'm not a mind reader. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm not. But you can't expect your husband or your companion to sit there and know what you're thinking, right? You have to ask for it. And I tell people all this time, well, they'll say something that totally pisses me off and it gets me really upset and I want to anger back at them. I said, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is say, ouch, right? And now they know. You have to train people, right? But you have to ask for what you want. It is really sad that relationships end because they keep on thinking the grass is greener. There's always something better. Here's the deal. The grass is never greener. All it is newer, okay? But it's going to have the same problems. But you've got to sit there and want to work on something. Anything in life takes work and it takes communication. If you communicate and tell people what you like, not what you don't like, you got to quit telling people what you don't like. You know, because if you sit there and go, hey, honey, you didn't pick up the dishes, you didn't do this, all that negative stuff, why don't you just tell them what you like? Eventually, watch what happens. But we program people to tell everything you don't like. You know, I don't like that. I don't like. What you say I like. The person will quit complaining about stuff they don't like because they're so impressed with things they like. Because you keep on making more with the like. I like when you talk to me at night. I like when you do this. You know, I hate when you sit there and keep the toilet lid open. But let's talk about like. Talk about positivity. It's not complicated. The problem is we are stubborn people that are so disconnected with how we feel, we can't know what other people feel.
Yeah, so funny too, and it ties in. I remember taking this parenting seminar that I went to, learning how to be just a better parent. And I remember the woman on stage. I left the seminar and I was like, man, everything she's talking about, how to be like a good parent. A lot of this positive reinforcement that you're talking about, like they say, I've heard many people say, have it like a 5-to-1 ratio of positive negatives, or 8-to-1,
9-to-1.
And I'm like, if you just did this, to like everybody in your life, this isn't like parenting for kids. Like if you just went to your business and treated people that way, if you took this same mantra to your family or everybody or your friends, you would have a great life. Actually, this isn't just one thing like positive parenting. This is actually a way to live all the time. And
No, I love that you said that, because here's the thing. People seem to think these tools are for one thing. They're for everything, right? I mean, it's not that complicated. Well, but then once you start incorporating all aspects of your life, you go, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? Like I tell people, I always smile at people. And I tell people this story all the time. It was about 2 years ago. I was going into the health club, and this woman's, it's a building with a health club. And so this woman's coming out. She's got this very colorful dress on. And I just look at her and I say, wow, that's an amazing dress. She looked at me like I just said she was a supermodel, right? And then, oh yeah, I got it at this store. It's great. And my earrings are matching. All I did was her, right? And I just made her day. And we can do that all the time, not just in our little circle, but just compliment the guy who's checking your bag. Just smile at people. Hey, it's super easy. Now your mindset is giving and giving. And once you give, now you're open to receiving, because most of us can't receive. But just give unconditionally. Tell people how you feel. Don't just say, by the way, you're an asshole. Just sit there and say, I love how strong you are on that subject. There's ways to reframe things, but people want to.
Like the great Wayne Dyer says, you know what? You're right.
Yeah. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? You're right. Okay, you're right. Now can we talk about what we're really talking about, right? And the problem is, like I said, They want to get you onto their agenda, right? And more importantly, you were talking about these divorce statistics. People want you to be that bullseye where they can throw their crap onto you. Your job is to not be that bullseye. And the best way to do that is not engage the anger. It's not that complicated. You have the ability to walk away. You have the ability to pivot. You don't have to pick up the phone when it's ringing. You don't have to. We have choices,
I want to talk a little bit about your Satisfied Life Mastermind, but before I go there was something interesting you wrote about in the book, and I'm like, man, that's really powerful, and I've never done that or thought about it. And it was about goal setting. And you tell people, you walk into this exercise where they should set goals, and then right underneath your top 5 goals, you should write down all the excuses. I think I'm doing this right. You should write down all the excuses of why you're not going to achieve it. Can you kind of talk? I thought this was genius, and just how that can, and then later in the book, you talk about, you kind of bring it, you tie it full circle of like why this is important. But can you just give a snapshot? People should go out and read the book, but just, give a snapshot of like this method of goal setting. I thought was really, really key.
Well, that's why this is cracks me up, because every coach will tell you to set goals, right? And that's great, but like, where are these goals based, right? Because like where I am today, if I told myself, the younger Alex, hey, you're going to be a public speaker, I put that public speaker, write a book, some other things. If I were to, underneath that, I'd say, your dad says you mumble, you stutter, you write terrible, you write like a freaking doctor, right? So how would that be working for me? So I sit there and put, here's my goals, but I tie it back into what I want to be, right? And I quit making the excuses, and I make action steps. But everybody will tell you why you can't do that. I really need to get this new job tomorrow. So but I'm afraid. Then my boss tells me you're never going to get another job because you're freaking can't even do the job you have now. But see, that's somebody else's agenda. So my point is turn off the outside noise. You know what you can do. Go back and start telling yourself the truth, not the truth that society's told you or somebody else told you, and those goals will become a reality. But you have to understand, you have to make realistic goals. And when you start setting those goals, go back and tell yourself what you've done and what's true. But more importantly, those goals have to align with your passion, what you think about every day. I can't sit there and say, you know what, my goal is to be a center in the NBA, right? Totally legitimate goal. The problem is I'm like a foot too short, right? So you have to put things in perspective of what's real, but you have to have it wins first. And that's what people don't do. They say they're going to do all these things, but they're not realistic, right? I'm going to do all these things, but do you even know how to do them? So you have to learn. And I'll close up on this subject. When my daughter was born, I would have never thought that one of my goals was to be a dad and to create life. It wasn't what I thought of at all. It wasn't even what I had any desires to be. I had no interest in being a dad when my daughter was born. But when she's born, I realized that was my goal, to be the best dad ever. So then I started reading everything I knew about being a dad and being a mom, because I had to be both. So I took the challenge on, what do I need to do to get those goals? So I started making steps of how do I become an expert at that. That's what people don't mistake. They make reasons why they can't do it. Why don't you find out how you can do it? Eliminate the can'ts and make them cans.
Yeah, and I love it though, because in the book too, excuses could be, and I think you mentioned this in the book. Well, one very big excuse: Netflix and chill.
Yeah,
we're hardwired to conserve energy. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And so, and you start writing down all these excuses. For me, it was a really powerful audit of like, really just the bullshit minutia and bullshit limiting beliefs I was telling myself of why I couldn't. And then if I started to do an activity like Netflix and chill, when I know I should be working on, I don't know, a new ad or a new reel or something I should be doing for my business, it's coming back to that, why are you doing this? Why are you creating this barrier? When you say you want this, but then you're doing this bullshit, oh, okay, I know why. Because there's fear, there's something else bigger there. And then that comes back, and that helped me a lot to see, wow, I do all this wasted activity to make myself look busy, but nothing's really getting done.
No, it's interesting. Like we talked about this earlier. And so this is why I'm in Palm Beach now, because I love the beach, right? So I can watch Netflix and I can watch bargain hunter beach show, whatever it's called, where I can walk on that beach. Am I accomplishing anything for my business? I think I am, because I'm making sure I'm okay, right? And I'm listening to the waves come in and out and the birds flying, and I'm just doing my thing. And then I come back and I'm locked on, right? I just sit there and plug myself into the high charge battery of Mother Nature. So that's more important. But when I'm watching Netflix, and we can all do that, I'm not moving the needle forward, right? So go do that stuff and realize, and doing that, I'm holding myself accountable. I'm going through the list of all these things I said were going to happen. And if they didn't, what did I do? Oh, I was going to do that, but then, oh yeah, I got distracted. So it's kind of that time where there's no noise. I'll put my headphones on. I listen to some old songs from the 80s, and I'm just like locked on, and I'm just seeing everything. I'm playing back the day in my head. I'm playing what it's going to look like in my head. And then at nighttime, I do the same thing. I play it back. Did it work that way? What did I do differently, right? So I'm constantly holding myself accountable and looking at, okay, that was right. That I can improve on. Did I go forward? And anytime I realized I didn't go forward, I said, okay, what was that change, right? What was the dynamic that changed? Oh, I didn't do this. Or I skipped a meal, or I didn't hydrate, or I engaged a very hostile person, right? More than I should have, right? So that's what that is for me, because I find out what I can watch. Look, I could sit there and probably watch all 4 seasons of Succession and not even get off the couch, right? I mean, you slam.
We all could, yeah.
But then I'm like, okay, what did I just do? And so that's the whole thing, is that breaking the habit. You can, and I tell people this thing right here, this tells you what your life is doing. Okay? And I tell people all the time, you want to find out what your brain's thinking about, go on to your history and see what you're fascinated with it. And there's probably some sort of job opportunity in that phone, because you're clearly obsessing about something in there. Go down that lane. I tell people all the time, you're spending hours and hours a day on this sucker, and I'm going to digress quickly. And I posted something the other day. Every time I go into an elevator, the first thing people do in that elevator is they take out their phone and look at it. It's 5-second elevator ride, right? It's 5 seconds. So yesterday I'm in the elevator. It was so awesome, Joel. I swear, I wish you were there. I get in the elevator, and this husband and wife and their little son's there. Hi! And I'm thinking like, and I go, don't ever change to this little kid. I goes, that's how it's supposed to be, right? You actually say hi to people in the elevator, right? No one says that. It's like, oh my God, someone's in the elevator. Like, what was on your phone that you didn't see when you just got in? I mean, that again, I call that emotional debt. We are so afraid of connection that someone's going to judge us and you're going to let them down. I guarantee you, if you just say, hey, hi, how you doing? Or how was your flight? Or happy Tuesday. Now you're feeling good. But if you go like this, come on, dude. Seriously, break the habit. Do stuff that feels good. It's not that complicated. Like I said earlier, if it feels like crap, don't do it. If it feels good, keep on doing it.
Yeah. So much to say about the cell phone and
it's not good. They're not good. I'm telling you. They're
yeah. Hey, talk to us about I know you do a lot of one-on-one coaching as well as speaking, but you also have a mastermind, the Satisfied Life Mastermind. Talk about just that, and why are people joining this, and what are some of the obstacles that your clients are facing, and how do you help them with this transformation?
So we've changed it a lot. This, what you want to call it, this helping people business lane is very different now. So there were these masterminds, right? And when I first started studying, that's what people were doing. And so I was doing them on the larger scale. What I found out is people wanted more of these private dinners, sitting around the table, sitting around the fireplace. They didn't want all the speakers, right? They didn't want that. They wanted a connection. They want people to tell stories. So now what we're doing small dinners. We'll do them in small towns, and maybe it's only 20 people, but we just want people to connect. Then we do something that's really weird, is we tell people to move. So it's kind of like musical chairs, right? Because you get locked on. And now it's more of a share group. So we've changed it more to like a share group. Let's just share, right? We're not trying to pitch you something. We're not trying to sell you something. Here's what we're doing, is trying to give back. Let's connect. And that's what it's all about. But I'm not selling those high-end masterminds, because that's what everybody's doing. And it wasn't what I was about. It was more about, there's people I know that have some knowledge that maybe you can share. There's maybe stuff I can learn from you. Let's just get to share unconditionally and not charge you $75,000 or $35,000 or whatever these crazy numbers are, right? Let's just go have dinner, hang out. And then if you want more, we'll go ahead and do a private mastermind. Maybe we'll do it at a private resort, or we can do them on yachts or whatever. But let's at least connect first, right? And then see where you want to go from there. Because the whole thing is taking that time out, disconnecting from the world and connecting, right? But no one wants to sit in an auditorium and have somebody lecture them for 8 hours straight, 100 people. That's not a good dynamic, in my opinion. People want more of the intimate things. So, and we're starting those back up in January. I believe in April we have one down in Punta Mita, but we're just keeping them very small and very intimate. And we're doing more like, hey, I'm going to be in Phoenix, so we'll do a small dinner in Phoenix. More like that, little connections. It's more about that connection and where I feel I'm giving value back to people. When I see people, I want them to know that I helped them and I was helping them unconditionally and try to get them on the right trajectory and help them not go down all these crooked lanes, because there's a lot of wrong paths to go down, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I love that you've transitioned and you're doing that. And just to give somebody some context too, like you said, you're not doing these massive events of it's just like 20 people having dinner, but also are there like some speakers like yourself or David Meltzer, are you guys taking the mic for a little bit and sharing some resources? So maybe there's like 5 days, I don't know, 5 speakers or something at these masterminds, and then you've got all the other heavy hitters and good people coming together.
Yeah, so we do small stuff like that. For instance, I'll be in where am I going to be? Going to be Phoenix, right? And I'll be there, and Meltzer will be there, and Tim Storr will be there, and we'll be on a little panel. We'll just talk to people, right? And that's kind of what it's about. Then if you want more of us, hey, by the way, we're doing something like this, right? So that's what we're trying to do, just get that connection where people are feeling safe. And if you like it, let's go that. But more importantly, I'm trying to protect people from the money grabbers out there that really don't know things, right? I just want to sit there and look, I've been on this planet 59 years. Maybe I know a few things. Maybe I just want to see you not have the struggles that I have. Maybe there's some failures that I've experienced and I can show you how I failed and failed forward. That's what it's about. I had 2 mentors in my life. I'm just trying to mentor and share with as many people as I can to really try to make life a little bit better, not only for myself, but everybody else.
Yeah, love that, brother. What are some new and exciting projects you have upcoming? I know you have the book. Obviously, we know that. Is there another book in sight?
So my new book is coming out next week, but it's the Satisfaction Guarantee, and this is more about focusing on emotional debt. The first book I wrote was 80.
Alex, that looks like a workbook. Is it a workbook?
I just blew it up really big. Okay. It's not a workbook. It's just for us people that are blind, when you can't see.
Got it.
No, it's a regular book. It should be out next week, but it's more, the first book I wrote, I didn't really know what I was doing, right? I just wrote a book, Passion, Respect, Gratitude, Blame Game. And then I started reading the reviews. I go, wow, let me write something a little more about me, a little bit more with my personality, right? And so that's how that came about. That's been a year in the works, and it's more about real things, real experiences, and more relatable stuff, right? Experiences I've had on airplanes, experiences I've had with friends of mine that, maybe were born without an arm and became an MMA fighter, but more about that resilience of being present, more about stop seeing the world in black and white, going back to color. So I focus more on that. My website, which is alexpaykoff.com. On there, there's some links about being emotionally debt-free. There's a quiz on there that I help people help them find a starting point to really be, in a better place. I have coaching programs that are extremely reasonable. It's called my Engage format, which is a 16-week program that's $3,700, but it's actually present. You have access to me. There's this new thing called a phone. You call me, I actually pick it up, and it's weird. I know it's weird. It's weird. And then we talk. We try to help. I just try to be present, right? And that's what I'm doing. And there's a few events I'm speaking at. The best way, again, is just go onto my website, alexpaykoff.com. If you need information right now, just DM me. I'm always available. I just try to help people, ask questions. Look, I'm only on this planet for so long. I just want to sit there and help and share.
Yeah, love that, brother. And I'll give one more call to action. One last question I was just thinking for you is, for you right now, everything that you're doing, what do you feel like is true for fulfillment for you today? I mean, obviously it's evolved from when you first started this journey, but what are kind of the deeper values or the purpose or for you right now where you just go, yeah, I am satisfied, guaranteed, right? I am living my highest self, and this is true fulfillment. I get it now.
Yeah, what's happened, and this happened probably in the last 4 months. I went on I was a keynote at an event, and we did this weird thing where there was 118 people there, and I put a little piece of paper underneath the chair, and it was a permission slip. and it was like, telling what they wanted to be. We had 100% people fill it out, and they were detailed responses. And I was like, whoa, it was really weird. And I spoke at an event the other day, and people were telling me, man, your passion, your vulnerability, your authenticity, your heart, I've never seen that before. So to answer your question, I locked more into who I always was supposed to be. I was always supposed to be this emotional, present person that actually listened, reflected, and cared unconditionally. And since and the second book helped me, since I started owning this person I am, right? It's been like, wow. Because I was still struggling. Don't get me wrong. I was still struggling with what people told me I should do. You should be doing these masterminds. You should be doing all this type of stuff. But when I went back to just talking to people from my heart, like you've heard the people at Abundance, like I moved them. Whoa. And I said, I got to do this more because I'm impacting people. I talked to a young man today who saw me in the sofa. He goes, dude, I couldn't believe the stuff you were saying. Darren Prince, Magic Johnson's agent, said, dude, man, my hair on my arms was standing on. I've never seen anybody talk so passionate about wanting to help humanity. So the answer to your question is, it's become more fine-tuned of this gift that God bestowed on me. I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing right now. Is it easy? Not really. Is it rewarding? Yes. It's like really, really cool. I meet people like you. I meet people and we try to talk about regrets. I wish I was doing this before. But I don't think I knew who I was exactly. And now I realize, you know what? I'm kind of a cool dude. That it's okay to feel and to make people smile, make people laugh, and make people cry together. It's kind of like we talked about this earlier. Try to take that away from me. There's no bank that's going to repossess that. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the ultimate wealth is that I'm 100% Alex Paykoff, and I'm still refining more of this. Whatever this is I have, right, this unique energy I have, life is good. But at the same time, there's some dark stuff. I just steer away from the darkness as much as I can.
Yeah, so good, man. I love that. I love that, what you said about just the being an alignment piece.
Yeah.
When you're aligned with yourself, you're true. Yeah. And nothing vibrates faster than the truth, right? David Meltzer always says that. So.
Absolutely. And it's that simple. And I'll resonate on that. I had a mentor of mine that passed away 2 weeks ago. And he said, here's the beautiful thing about the truth. You don't have to remember it.
And you know what's crazy, too, is I'm thinking of back to AA. They talk about this in AA. They say the truth is an inside job. You have to look inward. Yeah. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody. Because it hurts, man. It sucks. But when you do, it unlocks everything.
No, you know what? And we're running out of time. But, you're absolutely right. When you actually, like I'm giddy like this, right? When you actually look at it and you realize, you know what? Yeah, some of that stuff was ugly, but man, it was still cool. There's in all those journeys, right? The whole journey you had, you look back and said, man, I'd do it all over again because it made me who I am today, right? You talked about stuff with your kids, all that stuff. It made me more of who I am today. And I'm glad it all happened. Was it ugly? Yeah. But now I realize I'm not going to go back. This whole thing of being like actually listening and caring and being present and not wanting anything, freaking howdy. It's a crazy ass endorphin. It's like, and it's free. It's like, damn, this is awesome. Yeah. And again, we talked about this, the entrepreneurs not knowing how to make themselves feel good. I can be really depressed. All I have to do is go outside and engage somebody. Smile at them. You know what? It's really hard to be depressed when someone's smiling at you. It's really, really hard. Really, really hard. It's really hard to keep on crying where someone puts their hand on you and tells you, man, hey, I'm here. Not trying to fix you. It's really hard to keep on crying and feeling sorry when you actually care. But I appreciate you getting on our show. A lot of respect, my brother.
Yeah, man. Last but not least, just remind everybody where they can find you, connect with you, and learn more about you, brother.
The best place really is alexpaykoff.com. That's going to be the best place. All the information's in there. All my emails, my cell, and you can also DM me on Instagram. But really, alexpaykoff.com. Going to have all the link to all my stuff.
Amazing. Alex Paykoff, thanks for being on the show, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, man.